Chapter 101 First Use of Reversal, but Lord Danzo, this is the archive room, if we use ninjutsu, shut up. Danzo cast his one eye on the root ninja viciously. The latter was so frightened that he immediately lowered his head, not daring to speak. Do as I tell you. Danzo said in a deep voice, then pointed forward. Now, attack that side for me. The root ninjas did not dare to question Danzo, and immediately used ninjutsu in the direction of Danzo's finger. One after another fire release, wind release, and lightning release bombarded the area in front of them. Danzo laughed and watched the masked man being swallowed up by these ninjutsus, as if he had seen the scene of the other party being blasted to pieces. This is the consequence of fighting me, Shimura Danzo. Danzo said with a smug smile. But at this moment, Lord Danzo, why are you smiling so happily? A familiar voice suddenly rang in Danzo's ear. What? Danzo jumped away. Then he looked at the unscathed masked man standing where he was just now with a look of disbelief. Lord Danzo. The root ninjas around couldn't see Ryosuke at all, so they didn't know why Danzo had suddenly moved just now and looked at him inexplicably. Don't look, they can't see me. Ryosuke jokingly said, and, Mr. Danzo, how can you be sure that the me you see now is the real me? Ah, this. Danzo understood instantly. It turned out that like the subordinates around him, he had also fallen under the opponent's genjutsu. It's just that the other party deliberately made him see a genjutsu he had created by himself, making him think that the other party was there. When in fact, he was not in that position at all. Genjutsu, solution. Danzo desperately formed a seal, trying to unravel the genjutsu. But no matter how hard he tried, he still saw the masked man standing in front of him. This made Danzo's face darken. Damn Uchiha, why is this Uchiha's genjutsu so powerful? Danzo cursed, hating the Uchiha's genjutsu abilities for the first time. Obviously, when he owned the Koto Ematsukami before, he still liked it very much, but now. TSK. Lord Danzo is really helpless. Ryosuke smiled and looked at Danzo's angry but helpless face. To be honest, Danzo has a way of doing things behind the scenes, but his strength is really not that good. Even among Kaga-level powerhouses, his strength is very poor. Maybe 10 years ahead, Danzo's strength will still be at the Kaga level. But Danzo, who has not trained as a ninja for so many years, and has never fought against others, can he still maintain his previous Kaga level strength? Obviously not. This is why, in his future battles with Sasuke, he will repeatedly make various stupid operations. To be honest, it's just that he hasn't fought for so long that he has completely forgotten how to fight. Although the current Danzo is not as shabby as he will be a few years later, that doesn't change anything. When encountering danger, he only knows to call his subordinates to protect himself. How can such a person be called a mastermind? He is just a villain with a dark heart. You're really weak. Danzo, your strength has disappointed me so much, so I plan to give you a big gift, you don't have to thank me. Ryosuke suddenly curled his mouth, revealing a sly smile. Although Danzo couldn't see the expression on his face, he knew from his voice that the other party obviously had bad intentions. Damn! What do you want to do? Danzo backed away in fright, letting the root ninjas protect him tightly. Don't waste your energy, it's useless. Ryosuke said with a smile. In fact, at this moment, he was hanging upside down from the ceiling. The masked man that Danzo was seeing was just a genjutsu. In fact, there was nothing there at all. At this time, Ryosuke looked at Danzo below, and directly activated the pupil technique of his right eye. Reversal. Next second, Danzo was horrified to find that his body had begun to undergo terrible changes. First, his pectoral muscles started to swell, and then he found that his weapon that he hadn't used for many years was gone, and he couldn't feel it at all. Then, his hands and feet began to shrink, and his body became smaller. His hair started to grow longer and Hus Adam's apple disappeared. This all happened in only a few seconds. Danzo was horrified to find that he seemed to have turned into a woman. Not just any woman but an old and ugly woman. Mirror! Give me the mirror! Danzo yelled in horror. But he found that his voice had changed. It had become thinner, and it was totally like a woman's voice. What exactly is going on? The surrounding root ninjas were stunned. They looked back at Danzo, who was under their firm protection. How did Mr. Danzo become Ms. Danzo in the blink of an eye? At this time, a root ninja subconsciously took out a small mirror from his pocket and handed it to Danzo. Danzo took it and looked at himself in the mirror. Even with bandages on his face, Danzo could still see that his appearance had completely changed. He had turned into a woman. And he even looked like an ugly old woman in her 60s or 70s. This is not me. Danzo was so frightened that he dropped the mirror in his hand, and it looked like he was about to collapse. Master Danzo, what's going on here? Are you really Master Danzo? The root ninjas under him also looked at her hesitantly. If it weren't for the curse mark on their body telling them that the person in front of them was Danzo, they would think that this was an imposter. To be honest, they couldn't connect this ugly old woman with Danzo no matter what. At this time, Danzo suddenly formed a seal with him hands and cast transformation technique, turning himself into his original appearance. Phew! Fortunately, the transformation technique is still useful. Danzo was now particularly thankful that he had not forgotten how to use the transformation technique, although he had not used it for more than 10 or 20 years. But the muscle memory of the past was still there. Otherwise, he can't really show his face outside, can he? Bonus chapter, Grandma Danzo meets Grandpa Hiruzen. Especially when going to meet Sarutobi Hiruzen, he can't keep that look, can he? What would Sarutobi Hiruzen think? Danzo has been a man for more than 70 years, and suddenly he has become a woman. How can he accept that? Thinking of the expression that would be on Hiruzen's face, Danzo was so embarrassed that he couldn't help but want to commit suicide. Danzo, I hope you like this gift from me. Ryosuke smiled, and then left the archive room that had been burned. There were still a lot of good things at the root. Not to mention the biological pheromones on these root ninjas, the ninjutsus they had collected alone were worth the trip of Ryosuke. Not to mention, Ryosuke also plundered a Mangekyo's pupil technique tonight. He also turned Grandpa Danzo into Grandma Danzo. He wondered if Danzo would have nightmares at night. Ryosuke packed up these ninjutsu scrolls in Root's collection. He took all of them away, not even leaving a single one. During the whole process, the root ninjas who were ordered by Danzo to patrol around did not find out what he had done at all. By the time they find that all these ninjutsu scrolls had disappeared, Ryosuke would have already gone home to sleep. Tonight, he had gained too much. He got as many as 50 or 60 Jonin-level ninjas biopheromones. That is to say, there are at least 50 or 60 Jonin at the root. Elite Jonin are also included. Then there is the biopheromones of Chunins, which are as many as 200 or 300 copies. He had also gotten a biological pheromone from Danzo. He wondered what kind of talent entry this thing could transform into. But no matter how rubbish Danzo is, his status is still pretty impressive. At least it must be a purple talent entry, right? Even if it is directly decomposed, he will get 1000 experience points. The next day Ryosuke had breakfast at home in the morning, then he said goodbye to his mother Mizuki, changed into Anbu's uniform and went to Anbu to clock in for work. Today's task was still patrolling. But instead of patrolling the barrier outside the village, he had to patrol the inside of the village. On the roof of a house. Ryosuke and his 7th squad crouched here, observing the passers-by below. They were checking if there were any suspicious guys in the mix. Did you hear that? Something happened to Root last night. A large group of Root ninjas were looking for someone in the base in the middle of the night. It seems that their base was invaded and a lot of ninjutsu scrolls were taken away. At this time, Tengu suddenly got up and talked about a piece of explosive news he had heard. The Roots have been invaded. Who is so bold? Both Black Fang and Shadow looked at him and asked in surprise. On the contrary, Yugao glanced towards Ryosuke. With a woman's sixth sense, she felt that this matter was probably done by Ryosuke. And, just because others didn't know, would Yugao not know the strength of Ryosuke? For Ryosuke, it seemed that it was not difficult to invade the roots. But, after the invasion, he didn't blow up the whole root, which somewhat surprised Yugao. Black Fang and the others listened to Tengu talking about the root being invaded last night. While on the other side in Hokage's office, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen called Danzo personally to ask about the situation last night. Hiruzen, what do you want from this old man? Danzo opened the door and came in, looking very bad. Sarutobi Hiruzen also knew that Danzo was in a bad mood right now, so he went straight to the point and planned to ask about the situation of the intruder. He suspected that the ninja who had invaded the root was likely the mysterious person who had used a large-scale ninjutsu on the outskirts of the village some time ago. But just as Sarutobi Hiruzen was about to ask Danzo about this, he found that Danzo in front of him had actually used the transformation technique. As a veteran Kage-level powerhouse, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen was old and his eyes were dim, it was impossible for him to not notice the traces of the transformation technique. So he immediately slapped the table and stood up. Who are you? How dare you pretend to be Danzo? Swish! Swish! In an instant, 5 or 6 Anbus appeared in the office and they surrounded Danzo. Danzo! Danzo, who was quite calm on the surface, couldn't help cursing in his heart at this moment. Damn the Uchiha clan. It really is an evil family, as teacher had said. They can even use such evil ninjutsu. Is there anything more evil than this in this world? Danzo cursed inwardly. He tried various methods last night, but he couldn't change himself back to his original appearance. Then Sarutobi Hiruzen summoned him at this time. He couldn't get rid of this technique, so he could only come over with the transformation technique. Danzo knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen would see traces of the transformation technique on him. After all, if he couldn't even see this, then Sarutobi Hiruzen would be really useless. As he had guessed, just when he came in, the traces of the transformation technique on his body were discovered by his old friend. Hiruzen, don't get excited, I am not someone else's disguise. Danzo said as calmly as possible, you let these Anbu down first, and I will tell you the reason for doing so. Danzo was thinking of a comparatively good result. Even if he had to be embarrassed, it was best if he would only be embarrassed in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't believe what Danzo said at all, and he didn't let these Anbu go away. Instead, he asked Danzo to cancel the transformation technique immediately, otherwise he would order these Anbu to take him down. No, Hiruzen, listen to my explanation. Danzo was in a panic. He didn't want the news that he had turned into a woman to be known by these Anbu. What if they spread the word? When the time comes, will he, Shimura Danzo, even have the face to stay in this village? Helpless Danzo, get him for me. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't listen to Danzo's explanation. This person in front of him dared to pretend to be Danzo, and even used such a despicable technique as the transformation technique. Did he think that he, Sarutobi Hiruzen, had become old and stupid? This person thought he couldn't even see through a mere transformation technique? But he does get nosebleeds from Naruto's weird transformation technique. But that's because the visual impact is too strong. It's not that he really couldn't see that Naruto used the transformation technique. But this showed that Sarutobi Hiruzen wasn't able to see the real appearance of the caster of the transformation technique. In front of Naruto's seduction technique, which guy doesn't get a nosebleed? The Anbu in the Hokage's office, under the order of Sarutobi Hiruzen, instantly attacked Danzo in the encirclement. Danzo cursed, damn it. He quickly launched a counterattack. He can't just give up without a fight, can he? As soon as he saw Danzo counterattack, Sarutobi Hiruzen became even more sure that the other party was approaching him with some kind of evil plan. Then, he directly summoned more Anbu. He wanted to capture this intruder who dared to pretend to be Danzo. Boom! Danzo flew through the window of Hokage's office. He jumped, and landed on the open space outside the Hokage building. At this time after receiving the news, many ninjas who were nearby also rushed here. Even Kakashi, who was originally here to pick up a mission, was among them. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, stand back. This is not a fight you can participate in, Kakashi said with a serious face. At the same time, he pulled up his forehead protector, revealing the Sharingan. Kakashi-sensei, what's wrong with your eyes? Is it pink eye? Naruto pointed at Kakashi's Sharingan innocently. He didn't know what a Sharingan was, and thought that Kakashi had some kind of pink eye disease, so he had to cover that eye all day long. Kakashi. You call Sharingan an eye disease? Thankfully, the Uchiha clan were not here anymore, otherwise they would beat you up. Kakashi, why do you have a Sharingan from the Uchiha clan? Sasuke also looked at Kakashi's eyes in surprise. Of course, unlike Naruto, he did not think that it was some kind of pink eye disease. He had already awakened the Sharingan himself, so he was very clear that Kakashi had a 3-tomo Sharingan. But Kakashi was not from the Uchiha clan, his surname was Hatake. How could he have the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan? We'll talk about this later. I have to deal with the intruder now. Kakashi didn't have time to explain to Sasuke. He rushed up with the other ninjas after saying something. At this time, Danzo was cursing non-stop in his heart. He was being besieged by ninjas from his own village. But he still didn't have the will to remove the transformation technique and explain that he was really Danzo, and not some intruder. Seeing more and more ninjas coming here, Danzo didn't dare to release the transformation technique. Damn Uchiha, I hate them. At this time, Danzo's hatred for the Uchiha clan reached an unprecedented level. Just at this time, Kakashi with a Sharingan appeared in front of him. Without even thinking about it, Danzo used his most powerful wind release. He looked at Kakashi and chased him fiercely. Kakashi? Does this guy have a grudge against him? A lot of people were besieging him, but he fought him alone. Kakashi, I'll help you. Konoha Whirlwind. A green figure rushed up at an extremely fast speed. He instantly kicked away Danzo who was chasing after Kakashi. Danzo felt like his arm was going numb. Fortunately, at this time, a warm current flowed from his other arm, which quickly recovered his arm. Danzo looked up and saw another guy who left him speechless. A green jumpsuit, the iconic watermelon head, and the white shiny teeth that were almost blinding. Might guy. This blue beast has also come. Danzo felt bitter. But he couldn't tell the truth. Damn Hiruzen, why don't you believe me? Danzo complained about Sarutobi Hiruzen in his heart. Originally, this matter was quite simple. As long as Sarutobi Hiruzen just made those Anbu retreat, he would naturally release the transformation technique and tell him the truth. That would only cause him to be embarrassed in front of his old friend. It's better to be embarrassed in front of one person than in front of the whole village, right? But who would have thought that things would develop in a direction that he hadn't expected at all? Danzo was extremely angry. Yo! Naruto Sasuke, you're here too. Oh, and Sakura. Ryosuke, who was wearing the Anbu uniform also arrived here with the 7th squad of Anbu. Then, he saw Naruto and the others standing on the edge watching the battle. So, he went over to say hello. Are you Ryosuke? Naruto looked at Ryosuke in surprise. He had never seen Ryosuke in Anbu's uniform. Well, but you have to call me Yueyue now, this is my code name in Anbu. Ryosuke nodded. Yueyue, what's going on over there? Sasuke quickly recognized Ryosuke, and immediately asked curiously. Since Ryosuke was a member of Anbu, Sasuke thought he would know some inside information that they didn't know. I just came here, so I don't know what's going on there. Ryosuke shook his head and spread his hands. But in fact, he had already guessed what was probably going on in his heart. Because the guy who was being besieged at this moment was really Shimura Danzo and not some intruder in disguise. It's just that Danzo didn't dare to show his real appearance now. After all, that would cause him to die socially on the spot. If Ryosuke was in Danzo's position, he would not remove the transformation technique even if he was killed. He would rather choose to fight all the way out of the village than have a social death. But Ryosuke had this ability. But Danzo. Forget it. Right now he was about to be beaten like a dog by Kakashi and Might Guy. Danzo is exposed. Ryosuke felt the need to help Danzo. For example, let him get rid of the predicament in front of him, and then experience what social death is by the way. Swish. Ryosuke drew his sword and rushed forward. Like other members of Anbu, he assisted Kakashi and Might Guy in the front to besiege Danzo. It's just that Ryosuke cast a genjutsu when others didn't notice. The target was Danzo in the encirclement. At this time, Danzo was shot right through the heart by Kakashi's Raikiri. But just when everyone thought the target had been dealt with, the corpse on the ground with a pierced heart suddenly disappeared. Then another Danzo appeared. What kind of weird ninjutsu is this? None of these people present had ever seen this kind of ninjutsu that could allow one to resurrected from the dead. Or, was this some kind of genjutsu? In fact, the other party was not dead at all. The one who died was just a stand-in. In any case, if the target was still alive, it was impossible for them to stop. Just when Kakashi was about to let Might Guy hold him back and cast Raikiri again, Danzo suddenly yelled. Stop! Hiruzen, tell your people to stop immediately, I will remove the transformation technique. Danzo looked at his bandaged arm distressfully. It was not visible to others, but he knew that there was a Sharingan on it that had been lost forever and could no longer be used. This was equivalent to losing a life. Danzo was distressed. So he felt that he couldn't go on like this anymore. Even if he desperately didn't want to do this, he had to explain it clearly to Hiruzen. If it drags on, he doesn't know how many Sharingan he will lose. Even, he might die at the hands of these ninjas from his own village. But what Danzo didn't know was that the reason why he figured it out so quickly was due to Ryosuke's genjutsu. Hearing Danzo's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen also walked to the front surrounded by a group of Konoha ninjas. Everyone stop. Sarutobi Hiruzen said loudly. Then he looked at Danzo in the circle, frowning. You can remove the transformation technique now. Danzo gritted his teeth in hatred, but he had no other choice. Hiruzen, just wait. You don't have a long time left to live. When you die, I will take good care of your family. Danzo really hated Sarutobi Hiruzen at this time. If this guy had trusted him, things wouldn't be like this. This time, Shimura Danzo is doomed. In the future, when he goes out again, he wouldn't dare to go out with his true appearance. Even if the high level of Konoha held a meeting, Danzo even wanted to find some excuse to decline. Otherwise, he was afraid that everyone would make fun of him. Hiruzen, I ask one last time, can you let these people go? Danzo tried to make a last-ditch effort. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen just responded with a cold look. Impossible, no negotiation. Danzo gave up. He didn't struggle anymore. Social death is just social death. Next second, Danzo removed the transformation technique from his body and changed back to his true form. His clothes were the same, the bandages were the same, but the man. Puff. In the crowd, someone couldn't hold back and laughed. Who? Who? Danzo glanced around with one eye as if breathing fire, looking for the source of that laughter. And Ryosuke, who was hiding in the crowd, met the gazes from the side at this time, with a look of, it's none of my business. That's right. He was the one who laughed out loud just now. After all, it was so funny that he couldn't hold back. The other side, Sarutobi Hiruzen also looked at the changed Danzo in shock. In fact, When many ninjas besieged Danzo just now, Sarutobi Hiruzen had found that this guy's fighting style was almost exactly the same as Danzo in his memory. This guy also used various ninjutsu that Danzo was good at. Sarutobi Hiruzen would have believed that the opponent was Danzo if the opponent hadn't refused to remove the transformation technique. And now seeing Danzo like this, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly understood why Danzo was unwilling to remove the transformation technique. If it were him, he wouldn't want to either. No wonder. Danzo wanted to chat with him alone time and time again. It turned out it was for this reason. Danzo, what happened? Sarutobi Hiruzen understood the reason, but still couldn't figure out how Danzo had become like this. He was fine 2 days ago. Could it be that the surgery recovery was so fast nowadays? It's the intruder from last night. Danzo gritted his teeth and said. Now the person he hated most was the intruder, followed by Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him. One person made him look like this. The other made the public see him in this state. All deserve to die 10,000 times. The intruder. The one who took those ninjutsu scrolls from your root? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Danzo nodded. To be honest, he didn't care about ninjutsu scrolls at all. Compared with what happened to him, what were some ninjutsu scrolls worth? Then you haven't tried to remove this look? Sarutobi Hiruzen thought that Danzo was under some kind of vicious secret technique. But there should be a way to undo it. It is impossible for any secret technique to be completely unsolvable. Unbeknownst to Sarutobi Hiruzen, this is not a secret technique, but Mangekyo's pupil technique. And it just so happens that this Mangekyo pupil technique of Ryosuke is really unsolvable. I've tried everything I can think of, and nothing works. Danzo said with a sullen face. In fact, he had already guessed that this was probably the work of Mangekyo's pupil technique. It's just that he couldn't figure out why the Mangekyo Sharingan of the Uchiha family had such an unscrupulous pupil technique. He wondered what kind of heart that guy had to awaken this kind of pupil technique. Bonus chapter, Renowned Danzo, is that so? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. He didn't care about Danzo's appearance, but he was worried that if he met that person one day in the future, how would he face such a secret technique? If he, like Danzo, became like this. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help feeling a chill. At the same time, he also vowed to let Anbu's ninja go away first when encountering enemies in the future. What if this person happens to be the ninja who made Danzo look like this? Okay, come with me first. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo's appearance. To be honest, even though he was a decade-long old friend, Sarutobi Hiruzen still felt a little disgusted. Hearing this, Danzo also nodded. He was about to leave when he suddenly thought of something and cast a cold glance at Kakashi. Kakashi, you are good. Danzo said viciously. Kakashi had pulled down his forehead protector, revealing one nonchalant eye. He faced Danzo's threat, and he didn't care at all. Ah, I've been fine. Danzo snorted coldly, and then stepped forward to catch up with Sarutobi Hiruzen in front. Kakashi didn't care about offending Danzo. Because he has already offended Danzo. After all, Kakashi had come out from the root and then joined the Anbu. Since then, Danzo has hated Kakashi. If it weren't for the protection of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo would have already attacked Kakashi. Thinking that one of his Sharingan was wasted because of Kakashi, Danzo couldn't help but increase his hatred towards Kakashi. Damn Uchiha. Obviously, he hated Kakashi, but Danzo scolded the Uchiha. However, there is nothing wrong with that. This is Danzo after all. It's gone, there's nothing to see. The ninjas present also dispersed one after another. However, with the departure of these ninjas, what happened here today may be spread throughout Konoha within a day. Then, those spies hiding in Konoha will spread the news to farther places. In a few days, Danzo, the well-known darkness of the ninja world, will become the laughing stock of the ninja world. Miserable, really miserable. But who told him to provoke the main character, Ryosuke? All others can say is, he deserves it. Naruto, Sasuke, I'll go. Let's have dinner together next time. Ryosuke waved at Naruto and the others over there, and then continued today's patrol mission. While on the other side Sasuke also monitored Kakashi. Kakashi couldn't stand Sasuke's sharp eyes. He could only explain the origin of his Sharingan to Sasuke. Noon. Ryosuke found Hinata and Ino, who were taking a lunch break, and the three of them were eating boxed lunch at the edge of a field. Ryosuke, there seems to be some news in the village that Elder Danzo has turned into a woman. Is it true? Also, who is Elder Danzo? During the meal, Ino suddenly asked curiously. Have you heard about this too? Ryosuke secretly marveled at the speed at which this news had spread. In less than half a day, even Ino who was a genin had heard of it. Yes, but Kurenai-sensei told us not to discuss this matter. Hinata nodded, she had also heard the news. It seemed that this matter had been completely spread in the village now. A lot of people were talking about it. Sister Kurenai is right to not let you discuss it. Elder Danzo is a member of the elders group in the village and the leader of the root, so it can be said that he has a high position and authority. Sister Kurenai didn't let you discuss it, and it's for your own good. Ryosuke introduced the situation of Danzo. In fact, many ninjas who knew who Danzo was did not deliberately discuss this matter. The ones who spread the most, on the contrary, were those genin and ordinary people who didn't understand anything. How would a normal genin know Danzo? And at a young age, there are many guys who are not afraid of anything. Such as Naruto and Kiba. As for ordinary people, they don't even know who Danzo is. They just treated it as a normal gossip and discussed it, but it spread quickly. Soon it spread throughout the whole village. Danzo had apparently told his subordinates to limit the spread of this information. But Danzo's effort was basically useless. Unless you have someone watching everyone 24 hours a day, how do you know they won't be discussing it behind your back? Also, the more you don't let them do it, the more they will do it. Anyway, time will dilute everything. But during this time, Danzo didn't plan to go out again. Even when he had to go out, he would go out in a different way and never show his true appearance to others. Lord Danzo, Lord Hokage has requested your presence. Danzo? No. Hiruzen, you fucking. He had just said to not ask him to go out during this period of time. But Hiruzen just asked someone to call him over. And he had just gotten back from the Hokage building. If there really was something urgent, shouldn't Hiruzen have talked about it then? Why does he have to go back and forth like this? Are you kidding me? Danzo's heart was burning with anger. But looking at the two Anbu ninjas in front of him, he took a deep breath, and then suppressed the anger in his heart. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Anyway, Hiruzen doesn't have long to live. Why would I care about a dying person? Danzo comforted himself in his heart. After giving some instructions to his subordinates, he followed the two Anbu and left. Hokage office. Not only Sarutobi Hiruzen, but also two other members of the elders were present. Hamura and Koharu. And Konoha's brains, Narashikaku, was also present. When Danzo opened the door and came in and saw so many people in the office, his face darkened instantly. The dark-faced Danzo didn't say a word when he came in. Danzo, don't use the transformation technique. Sarutobi Hiruzen ordered. Danzo. Anyway. He had already been embarrassed once, so being embarrassed again was not a big deal. However, Danzo's hatred for Sarutobi Hiruzen increased a bit. It had almost caught up with the masked man who had made him like this. Chunin exam. Danzo, you've really turned into a woman. Seeing Danzo who removed the transformation technique, Koharu looked at him in surprise. She wasn't disgusted by Danzo's appearance like this. Instead, she felt closer to Danzo. After all, in the past, among the four of them, she was the only woman, but now, there was an extra Danzo. Now, hadn't the number of females become equal to the number males? Just right. Shut up, Koharu. Danzo said viciously. Koharu chuckled and didn't care about Danzo's bad attitude. She also knew that Danzo hadn't become used to being a woman yet. Once Danzo gets used to it, he won't be like this anymore. And what's wrong with being a woman? Koharu though it was pretty good. Ahem. Alright, since Danzo is here, let's start discussing that matter. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed twice, making everyone look away from Danzo and look at himself. Normally, Danzo would be the first to speak at such times, but right now Danzo was standing on the sidelines. He was completely acting like an outsider, with no intention of asking any questions. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but chuckle in his heart. He found out that there were benefits to Danzo being a woman. The biggest advantage was that Danzo had begun to feel embarrassed to express himself. He seemed to be afraid that everyone's attention would be on him, and he would be greeted with dazzling eyes. It seems that I should thank that intruder instead. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself. But if he really met that person, Sarutobi Hiruzen would definitely let his subordinate Anbu rush forward without saying a word. After all, if Danzo could become like this today, he may also become like that in the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't want to become like Danzo. Just look at Danzo now. Although he is still alive, his situation is worse than being dead. Danzo really felt that his life was worse than death at this time. Especially when he felt Sarutobi Hiruzen's playful eyes, he suffered even more. Damn Hiruzen. How dare he? No matter how thick-skinned Danzo was, Danzo could hardly hold back when his old friends in the past made fun of him like this. Fortunately, Sarutobi Hiruzen also knew it was not a good idea to continue provoking Danzo. During the whole discussion, Danzo seemed to have wandered away. When Sarutobi Hiruzen said that everyone could go, he turned around and left Hokage's office without saying a word. As soon as he went out, Danzo used the transformation technique to transform himself into another person. He didn't dare to change into his original appearance now. Everyone knew that Shimura Danzo had turned into a woman. So, as long as they saw him Danzo, the eyes of those people would become very strange. It was like they were looking at some rare animal. This made Danzo feel unbearable. So, he simply turned into someone else. That way no one would recognize him. In Hokage's office, Nara Shikaku was asked to stay behind by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Shikaku, the village will hold a joint Chunin exam in a few months, and I want you to be in charge of coordinating it. Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Shikaku to stay because he wanted to chat with him about the Chunin exam in a few months. This time the Chunin exam will not be attended only by some small ninja villages in the surrounding area. It has been confirmed that Mangekyo who had signed an alliance agreement with them would come. When the time comes for the last exam, even 4th Kazekage will be there in person. So, Sarutobi Hiruzen also attached great importance to this Chunin exam. He was worried about handing over this matter to other people. But if this person is Nara Shikaku, Sarutobi Hiruzen would be fully reassured. Okay, Lord Hokage. I will start preparing in the next few days, and I will definitely ensure the safety of the village by then. Nara Shikaku said. Safety is important, but it is also necessary to show Konoha's might. The daimyo will also send people to watch the ceremony. You know, the village has spent a lot of money over the years. I have always been very nervous. If the daimyo doesn't have enough confidence in Konoha, next year's funding may be reduced again. Sarutobi Hiruzen was not worried about the village. After all, the ones who will come this time are just small ninja villages, and Mangekyo, the weakest village among the 5 major ninja villages. He was more concerned about whether this Chunin exam would be able to demonstrate Konoha's strength. This was a good chance to attract more wealthy businessmen to invest in Konoha, and have them post more high-level tasks in Konoha. At the same time, it would be even better if the daimyo of the Land of Fire could be satisfied. After all, running a village costs a lot of money. Who is the richest in the Land of Fire? Of course it's the daimyo. The funds allocated by the daimyo alone are enough to support a large number of ninjas every year. In the past 2 years, too many things have happened in Konoha. So much so that the daimyo has lowered the village's annual funding 2 years in a row. If the funding continues to be reduced like this, the living standards of the ninjas of the Sarutobi clan will be lowered. By that time, how would Sarutobi Hiruzen find a way to pocket some profit for his family's ninjas? After listening to what Sarutobi Hiruzen said, Narashikaku just nodded. He said that he would definitely satisfy those wealthy businessmen and the daimyo. As for the funding issue that Sarutobi Hiruzen talked about, Narashikaku was a smart person. Of course he knew that the funds given by the daimyo each year were far more than what Sarutobi Hiruzen had said. As for where did the rest of the funds go? You don't need to ask, and you don't need to know. Just understand it in your heart. After all, the Nara clan was on good terms with the Sarutobi clan. To put it bluntly, they also gained something. It's just that the benefits they obtained were not as much as those of the Sarutobi clan. Fat Anko. Okay, today's patrol is over here, you can go back and rest. Yeah, you stay. It was getting late, and the task of Anbu's 7th squad was also completed. After disbanding the team, Yugao asked Ryosuke to stay behind. Go change your clothes first, Kurenai has invited you tonight. Yugao said. Then I'll go ahead first. Ryosuke said. Yugao nodded. Evening. Ryosuke, who had changed his clothes and gone out unexpectedly, met Naruto and the others who had just finished their mission on the road. Naruto, Sasuke, what's wrong with you? He looked at the 2 people who were soaked in water, and asked curiously. Hey. Don't ignore me every time. Sakura on the side shouted with dissatisfaction and put her hand on her hips. Ah, by the way, there is Sakura too, what's wrong with you guys? Ryosuke laughed, and his perfunctory appearance made Sakura very dissatisfied. But Ryosuke was not a simp like Naruto. No matter how dissatisfied she was, it would not affect Ryosuke. It's because of Kakashi-sensei. Ryosuke, all we have been doing these past 2 days are just some stupid tasks. As soon as Naruto heard the question from Ryosuke, he immediately went into complaint mode. He first complained about Kakashi's irresponsibility. Kakashi said he was busy, but he just watched and didn't help. Then he complained about the missions he had to do. For the past 2 or 3 days, they had to accept at least 2 D-rank missions every day. And those missions were not just weeding or cleaning or something. That's not what a ninja should do. This was completely different from the life of a genin that Naruto had imagined. He thought he would get to go out of the village to perform those difficult missions soon. But the result, that's it. We just finished a mission to clean up river trash. Sasuke couldn't bear Naruto's endless chatter, so he pulled Naruto and answered the question that Ryosuke had just asked. So that's the case, then you guys have really worked hard. Ryosuke patted the shoulders of both of them sympathetically. What about Sakura? Kiki. Forget it. Ryosuke, what kind of missions do you do in Anbu? Is it particularly exciting? At this moment, Naruto suddenly asked with bright eyes. This silly boy. Who would tell outsiders about secret missions? But it is normal for Naruto to not know these common sense. After all, no one told him. I left the village yesterday to perform a mission, and the day before yesterday. In fact, I have only left the village twice. Today, I am just patrolling the village. Ryosuke didn't go into details, and just said briefly. But even so, it still made Naruto envious. You've already left the village to perform missions, unlike us, who are still stuck with those boring missions like cleaning up rivers. Naruto pouted, and that resentful expression made Ryosuke almost get goosebumps. Okay, go home and change your clothes, or else you won't be able to continue to do missions tomorrow if you catch a cold. Ryosuke looked at the sky and saw that it was getting late, and then sent the three of them home to change clothes quickly. But Naruto rolled his eyes when he heard his words, as if he had thought of some good idea. After Ryosuke separated from them, Naruto secretly pulled Sasuke and Sakura with him. He said, "I have a plan. We won't have to do those D-rank missions tomorrow. Do you want to come with me?" "Any solution?" Sasuke looked at Naruto with a suspicious expression. The plan Naruto came up with. To be honest, Sasuke was really worried. "Naruto, tell me quickly, don't keep it a secret." When Sakura heard that she did not have to perform those troublesome and tiring D-rank tasks, she hurriedly urged Naruto to speak quickly. "My solution is to pretend to be sick." Naruto said triumphantly, "As long as we say that we fell into the water today and caught a cold and got sick, then Mr. Kakashi won't tell us to do those D-rank missions." "Is this a good way in your mind?" Sasuke shook his head. Sure enough, he shouldn't have expected any good solution from Naruto. Pretending to be sick. Isn't that a child's trick? Naruto, your method is too bad. Kakashi-sensei is not a fool. How could he fail to see that we are pretending to be sick? Sakura originally wanted to say that this method was good, and they could try it. But as soon as she heard Sasuke, she forgot the words that had reached her mouth. Then she showed a dissatisfied expression, complaining that Naruto's method was too bad. "Trust me, I can trick Kakashi-sensei." Seeing that both of them didn't believe him, Naruto said hastily. "Forget it, I don't want to play sick games like a child, I'm going home." Sasuke shook his head. Then he turned around and left. "Sasuke, wait for me. My home is on the way, let's go back together." "Naruto." He looked at the road on the left, and then at Sasuke and Sakura who were going to the right. He wanted to say that Sakura's house was not that way. But he didn't know if it was telepathy or something else, but just as he was about to speak, Sakura immediately turned around and glared at him viciously. Naruto quickly shut his mouth, not daring to speak. After a while, both Sasuke and Sakura walked away, and Naruto said angrily, "What? You don't believe my way? Just wait and see. You can go to work tomorrow, but I will rest at home. You will regret not listening to me." Kurenai's house. Ryosuke knocked on the door. It was Anko who came to open the door for him. "TCH. It's you." When Anko saw that the person who came was Ryosuke, her face suddenly collapsed, as if she was not happy to see him. "Sister Anko, have you gained weight recently? It feels like your face has become a little rounder than when we met last time." Ryosuke said with a smile. "Anko." Bonus chapter, Hinata's arrival, ah. She yelled frantically, "Ryosuke. Say more. Where am I fat? Am I called fat? I am called plump, okay. Ah, yes, yes, yes." Ryosuke nodded again and again. "Sister Anko, you are plump, not fat. A friend of mine often says the same thing. I feel like you are scolding me." Anko looked at him with a suspicious expression on her face. Obviously he was right, but she felt weird. "By the way, who is that friend of yours?" Anko asked subconsciously. "Choji, his full name is Akimichi Choji." Ryosuke ran away as soon as he finished speaking. As expected. A scream sounded from Anko behind him, and then she ran after him like crazy to beat him. Ryosuke ran in front and Anko chased after him. No matter how hard she chased, she couldn't catch up with Ryosuke. At this moment Kurenai also came out of the kitchen, and she looked helpless when she saw the two people running around the room. "Can you two not quarrel every time you meet? Really, were you enemies in your previous life?" Kurenai couldn't figure out why these two guys would quarrel every time they met. The most incomprehensible thing for her was that Anko obviously lost every time they quarreled, and she would get mad by herself. But when they meet next time, she still keeps being provocative. What is this? "Sister Kurenai, help. At this time, Ryosuke hurriedly ran behind Kurenai. He grabbed her waist and hid behind her. Smelly brat. Don't run away. Anko rolled up her sleeves, looking aggressive. Ryosuke, who was hiding behind Kurenai, looked at her with a smile, and hooked his fingers provocatively. You come here. Oh. I have a bad temper. Anko was about to rush forward angrily. But Kurenai quickly grabbed her. Come on, both of you, stop for a while. She said helplessly. Just then someone knocked on the door again. Kurenai hurriedly said to Anko, go and open the door, it should be Yugao who has arrived. Anko glared at Ryosuke, then turned around reluctantly and opened the door. Kurenai, who saw Anko open the door, patted the back of Ryosuke's hand angrily. Ryosuke, what are your hands doing? She turned around and gave Ryosuke a look. Sister Kurenai, why do I feel that you are getting more and more beautiful? Ryosuke said with a smile. You're the one with the sweetest mouth. Kurenai patted him angrily, and then said, calm down later, don't always quarrel with Anko. Since Sister Kurenai has said so, I will obey. Ryosuke promised. Come on, the credibility of what comes out of your mouth is really not high. This was not the first day Kurenai had met Ryosuke. She had long understood Ryosuke's style of running his mouth. Ryosuke laughed. By the way, Sister Kurenai. Ryosuke suddenly asked, apart from Anko and Yugao, are there any other guests coming to your house tonight? Hinata will come later. Kurenai said while turning back to the kitchen. Is Hinata coming too? Ryosuke was a little surprised and confused. He was not surprised that Kurenai and Hinata had such a good relationship so soon. He was confused that since Hinata was coming, what about Kiba and Shino from Team 8? Midline horizontal ellipsis treated differently. Ryosuke smiled. Of course he knew that Kurenai would not treat her students differently. As for why only Hinata was invited, but not Kiba and Shino. Of course, it's because it's not convenient for men to join the dinner tonight. As for Ryosuke, that's different. In Kurenai's eyes, Ryosuke was no different from her younger brother, so naturally she didn't mind. And Anko and Yugao didn't mind him joining either. After all, they had been acquainted with Ryosuke since he was 10 years old. Even more so with Yugao. In short, Ryosuke was an exception. Sister Yugao, come and sit here. In the living room. Anko and Yugao came in, and Ryosuke faced Yugao and beckoned her to sit near him. Humph. Be careful, Yugao, this brat is getting more and more irritating now. Anko still looked annoyed, obviously still angry at Ryosuke saying that she had become fat. But the reason why Ryosuke said this was mainly to urge her to eat less sweets. Otherwise, after a few more years, she might really become fat like a giant ball. Obviously she was a very pretty girl, but thinking about how fat she would be in the future, Ryosuke couldn't help but want to persuade her to eat less sweets. But Anko's character was that the more you don't let her eat, the more she wants to eat. So, Ryosuke simply took another approach. Every time he met her, he said that she had become fatter than before. In this way, Anko gradually controlled her diet subconsciously. She successfully avoided fate of becoming a big fat person in the future. Are you two fighting again? Seeing Anko's expression, Yugao knew that the two must have quarreled again just now. But in fact the relationship between the two is actually very good. Quarreling is actually a sign of a good relationship. Otherwise, if the relationship was really not good enough, after quarreling a few times, they would not talk to each other this often. It's just that this guy talks too much. Anko pouted and said with dissatisfaction. Then she pulled Yugao and began to criticize Ryosuke. She also tried to encourage Yugao to arrange more heavy tasks for Ryosuke in the future, and called it exercise for Ryosuke. A few minutes later, Hinata also arrived. Ryosuke went to open the door for her. Ryosuke, you're here too. Seeing Ryosuke open the door for her, Hinata's eyes lit up. Well, come on in. Ryosuke nodded with a smile, and beckoned her to come in. Bonus chapter, Hinata's love for Ryosuke in the dining room. The lighting was soft. Everyone sat in a circle around the table, and there were all kinds of delicacies on the table. Kurenai, your craftsmanship is getting better and better. If anyone marries you in the future, they will die of happiness. Anko, who kept picking up vegetables with chopsticks, had her mouth full of food. At the same time, she did not forget to praise Kurenai's craftsmanship. Kurenai-sensei's dishes are really delicious. Hinata's small face looked serious. Coupled with the high pile of food in the bowl in front of her, it seemed that her words were particularly convincing. I remembered, someone said before that when he grows up, he will marry Kurenai and make her his wife. Anko suddenly said with a smile. She glanced at Ryosuke again and again for fear that others would not know who she was referring to. What's the matter? Isn't it normal to want to marry a virtuous woman like Sister Kurenai? Ryosuke said with a calm face. Hey. Your little girlfriend is sitting next to you. You are so brave. Anko had a surprised expression. She hadn't expected Ryosuke to admit it so fearlessly. Was he really not afraid that his little girlfriend would be jealous? Hinata is not you, so she won't be jealous just because of such a small thing. Ryosuke smiled. He squeezed Hinata's little hand, right, Hinata? Hinata couldn't help being a little embarrassed and Ryosuke held her little hand in front of everyone. But fortunately, after 2 years of training from Ryosuke, Hinata's personality had changed a lot. Although, she was still gentle and considerate, at least she wasn't as timid and shy as before. If it was 2 years ago, Hinata would have fainted from embarrassment in a situation like this. But now. At most, she blushed and her ears became red. She was too shy to look at the eyes of the people around her. She was not even close to fainting. No way. Anko looked at Hinata, who was shy, and lowered her head in disbelief. She couldn't help asking Hinata because she didn't understand. No, Hinata, what are you doing? Could it be that you even want your future husband to have other women outside? Kurenai beside her glared at Anko. She always felt that the other women outside, in Anko's mouth, was referring to her. Kurenai didn't have that kind of thought towards Ryosuke and she treated him more like her younger brother. But the meaning of Anko's words couldn't be more obvious. She was not a fool. How could she not notice it? I don't mind. Hinata lowered her head and said in a low voice, Ryosuke is so good, it is inevitable that many girls will like him. I can't restrain him because of his love for me. As long as he has me in his heart, I will be satisfied. Anko. She felt that her worldview had been shattered into pieces. In fact, even Yugao and Kurenai, who were just watching the excitement, looked at Hinata in surprise at this time. This young lady of the Hyuga clan is so generous. Is this the education of a big family? Worthy of being a princess? Anko and Kurenai couldn't understand. But Yugao showed a thoughtful look. She had seen part of the true strength of Ryosuke. So she could probably understand how excellent the word excellent in Hinata's mouth was. If it is like this, it doesn't seem to be unacceptable, right? Yugao thought to herself. After all, the strong are the real rulers of this world. And Ryosuke, who has such amazing strength at the age of 12, will definitely be on top of the world in the future. If a man like this has many women around him or something. Thinking about it, there seems to be nothing wrong with it. That's reasonable. Moreover, Ryosuke said that Ino and I are his wings, we should let him spread his wings and fly higher and farther, instead of binding him firmly to the ground. Hinata suddenly looked at Ryosuke beside her. Her eyes were as gentle as water, full of love. This was a rare occasion. Hinata had mustered up the courage to express her love for Ryosuke in front of so many people. This also moved Ryosuke very much. He held Hinata's little hand tightly, unwilling to let go again for the rest of his life. He had such a well-behaved, obedient and sensible girlfriend. Ryosuke felt that if he didn't cherish her, he would definitely be struck by lightning. No. Ryosuke, are you a birdman? Why do you need so many wings? Ryosuke and Hinata were touching each other, and their eyes were expressing their deep love for each other. But Anko suddenly ruined the atmosphere just now. Anko, are you allergic to romance? Ryosuke said angrily. He didn't even call her sister anymore. You call this romantic? Are you sure it's not an excuse for being a scumbag? Anko sneered, as if she had seen through everything. Take care of yourself. You eat so much. Be careful or you will become a big fatty and no one will want you. Smelly brat. You say it again. Sorry, I never repeat what I said, and you heard it clearly. Don't pretend you didn't hear it. Smelly brat. I will beat you to death. Anko jumped up directly from her seat, and flung her teeth and claws at Ryosuke. Ryosuke dodged in an instant, and at the same time reached out to grab Anko's hand, and with a twist, she was suppressed under him. You let me go. Anko struggled a few times, and was surprised to find that she couldn't break free. She was a special jonin. And Ryosuke was just a genin who had just graduated from ninja school. How could she be subdued by him so easily? Was she drunk? Anko doubted herself a little. But she obviously hadn't drunk alcohol. You want me to let you go? First, call me Dad. Ryosuke said with a smile. He reached out and patted Anko. Hey! What are you saying, stinky brat? You still want me to call you Dad? You're dreaming. Kurenai's birthday. Anko struggled even harder, still cursing and unconvinced. Okay, can you two calm down for a bit? Kurenai patted her forehead, helplessly looking at the two who were making a fuss again. But seeing that Ryosuke had subdued Anko so easily, she was actually quite surprised. Just the physical ability shown by Ryosuke was enough to be comparable to some special jonin. No wonder Lord Hokage valued him so much and made an exception to let him join Anbu as a genin. Lord Hokage had a really sharp eyesight. Sister Kurenai, Anko just feels a little itchy. I will help her, as Ryosuke said. He slapped her a few times. Even though Anko had a thick skin, she couldn't take it anymore at this time. She felt ashamed being bullied by Ryosuke in front of her two good friends. Woo! You bully me. Hinata, look, your boyfriend is bullying me. Anko faked crying while complaining to Hinata. However, Hinata just looked at her, and said in a low voice, Miss Anko, you can't beat Ryosuke. This made Anko feel even more depressed. What the hell? What kind of magic did this kid, Ryosuke, use on this young lady of the Hyuga clan? The previous words made Anko wonder if there was something wrong with her ears. But now Hinata even ignored the fact that she was being bullied by Ryosuke, and even supported Ryosuke. All right. They are indeed boyfriend and girlfriend. If Hinata doesn't speak up for her boyfriend, is it possible that she will help Anko instead? But it also depends on the situation. In the current situation, she, Mitarashi Anko, is clearly at a disadvantage. Will you call me Dad or not? If not, you can stay here all the time. Ryosuke said with a smile. Yugao. Anko looked at Yugao with a mournful face. And Yugao cast a helpless look at Anko. Woo woo woo. Even Yugao doesn't love her anymore. Anko felt bitter. Kurenai, you don't want me to die, do you? She could only turn to the last person who could help her. Anko, you can just throw in the towel, Ryosuke won't really let you call him daddy. Kurenai said. No. Why are you all on this brat's side? I am so angry. Anko, are you sure you don't want to beg for mercy? Think about it, if you don't beg for mercy, I'll sit on you and you will be my stool tonight. Ryosuke said with a smile. When Anko heard this, She thought about it. She didn't want to be treated as a stool, and it was uncomfortable to lie on the ground. Okay, I admit defeat, I was wrong. Anko finally gave in. King of Mouth Release, S strong persuasive power helped Ryosuke successfully persuade her. And Ryosuke wasn't really serious about asking her to call him dad. That was just a joke. Letting go of Anko, Ryosuke saw that the woman was still unconvinced, so he showed his right hand. Anko couldn't help but blush when she saw it, and hurried back to her seat. After 9 o'clock in the evening. Hinata had to go home early because of family rules, so Ryosuke sent her home to rest first. After sending Hinata to the land of the Hyuga clan, Ryosuke returned back to Kurenai's house again. As soon as he entered, he saw Anko lying on the ground with no care. She was holding a wine bottle in her hand, and muttering something like, "Kill you," in a daze. Ryosuke seemed to have heard his own name. This woman had become brave again. On the other hand, although Yugao had drunk a few cups, she was only slightly tipsy, unlike Anko, who was completely drunk. "Yugao, you and Anko don't go back tonight, stay with me." Kurenai came down from upstairs, holding 2 sets of pajamas in her hand. She handed Yugao one of the blue sets, and another set of yellow, which Anko used to wear when coming to live in her house. "Let me do it." Yugao helped Anko up from the ground, and took another set of pajamas from Kurenai's hand. "Kurenai, you can rest for a while. I'll help Anko upstairs to the room first." As Yugao said, she directly carried Anko on her shoulders. Like a sack, Anko, who was drunk, muttered a few words, and then was carried upstairs by Yugao. "Ryosuke, do you want to go back tonight? Or stay with me for one night?" Kurenai looked at Ryosuke, who was at the side, and asked. "Sister Kurenai, this is for you, happy birthday." Ryosuke suddenly took out a beautifully packaged box from behind. He handed it to Kurenai, and said happy birthday, which made Kurenai look at him in surprise. "How did you know that today is my birthday? Anko and the others told you?" Kurenai accepted the gift, thinking that Anko or Yugao had told Ryosuke about this. "No, I found out about your birthday from Hinata, and realized that it was today," Ryosuke said. In fact, Kurenai rarely celebrates birthdays. Since her father's death, she hasn't celebrated her birthday in any serious way. Last year and the year before, she spent her birthday outside performing tasks. So, she couldn't really celebrate even if she wanted to. This year, she happened to be resting at home, so she invited Anko and Yugao, her 2 good friends, plus Ryosuke and her new student Hinata. But Kurenai hadn't said that tonight's gathering was to celebrate her birthday. Both Yugao and Anko knew her temper, so they didn't give any gifts or anything like that. She did not expect that Ryosuke had actually found out about her birthday, and even prepared such a gift for her in advance. "Ryosuke, thank you." Kurenai became very moved. Holding the gift in both hands, she suddenly opened her arms and hugged Ryosuke. "This is the best gift I've received this year," she whispered in Ryosuke's ear. Then, Ryosuke suddenly felt a cool touch on his cheek which instantly disappeared. Before he could react, Kurenai smiled and let him go. "Don't think too much, it's just a gift." Ryosuke blinked, and then said something that made Kurenai feel dumbfounded. "Sister Kurenai, can I give you gifts every day from now on?" Kakuzu the worker. Late at night, in the room. Lying on the bed, Ryosuke couldn't fall asleep, so he simply got up and took out a drop of blood sample from the system's biopheromone warehouse. "Kakuzu, Kakuzu. Please don't transform into any weird talent entries," Ryosuke murmured silently in his heart. He instructed the system to convert this drop of blood in his hand into a talent entry. Ding! Transformation succeeded. Congratulations to host for getting the talent entry, Spirit of a Worker, purple. Spirit of a Worker. Ryosuke thought that Kakuzu's blood would transform into a strange talent entry like, the man who threw a shuriken from 800 miles away. He really hadn't connected Kakuzu with a worker. But thinking about it, wasn't Kakuzu just a worker of the Akatsuki organization? Konan is his boss. And this boss is very black-hearted. She doesn't pay him even a penny in wage, and spends all the money earned by the employees. Too dark. Just thinking about it made him want to wipe a few tears for this worker. Kakuzu is really miserable. Let's look at the attributes of this talent entry. Ryosuke was not sure whether this obviously playful talent entry was useful. But anyway, it was a purple talent entry. Even if it's not good, he can keep it for the time being, and see whether the system will be updated for a second time after he has a lot of these purple talent entries. Spirit of a worker, purple workers. Soul of a worker. Workers are the master. We work, we are proud. We work, we are proud. Come on, come on, come on. Work hard. All-round strength plus 300% in the working state. Harvest of your work plus 300%. Comes with the inexhaustible aura. Inexhaustible aura, you will never feel tired. Even if you work overtime for 24 consecutive hours, you will still be energized. Hiss. Ryosuke looked at the attributes of this talent entry, and couldn't help but gasp. Fuck. This attribute is amazing. In the working state, the strength increases by 300% in all aspects. And the payoff from work increases by 300%. The inexhaustible aura seems to be useless for Ryosuke, but if he encounters a situation where he needs to stay awake for a long time, this can definitely come in handy. But the most important thing are the previous two attributes. So awesome. Needless to say, all-round strength improvement. It has already appeared in the gold talent entry, Son of Destiny, before. However, Son of Destiny increases this attribute by 500%, which is 200% more. But this talent entry is definitely the best of the best among purple entries. This is the first time Ryosuke had seen a purple talent entry with such good attributes. Even the white-eyed princess talent entry of Hinata was worse than this in Ryosuke's eyes. Heiden's immortal body was good, but if the power is not enough, no matter how immortal a person is, they won't be able to beat the opponent. In contrast, Ryosuke preferred this kind of talent entry attribute that improves all-round strength. And what does all-round mean? It means all the current ability of Ryosuke, including his own physical ability, will be increased. Thinking about it this way, is the attribute of this entry very variable? But one problem is that this talent entry can only be activated when Ryosuke is working. So what does it mean to be in working condition? What is his occupation? Anbu? No. Ryosuke's profession is a ninja. Ninja itself is a profession, just like waiters, store owners, and samurai. Occupation is a collective term for a certain type of people. And under what circumstances would a ninja be considered to be working? Of course it's a mission. That is to say, as long as Ryosuke is in the process of performing a mission, then he could be considered to be in a working state. It's so easy. After all, as long as ninjas leave the village, they are basically in the process of performing tasks. In other words, regarding this 300% all-round strength bonus, Ryosuke can almost make it a permanent state. But it won't be active when he is resting in the village. But at that time he won't really need to fight. So it doesn't matter. Kakuzu, I wrongly blamed you before, you are really a good person. Ryosuke suddenly felt guilty. Did he hit too hard before? Kakuzu sent him such a good talent entry, but he broke his two hearts. Fortunately, Kakuzu was rescued by Zetsu at that time, otherwise if Ryosuke accidentally killed him, he would have to set up a tombstone for Kakuzu at this moment, with the character of good guy written on it in memory of our wonderful man, Mr. Kakuzu. His selfless dedication was not aimed only at Akatsuki organization. Even Ryosuke, a Konoha ninja, deeply felt his giving personality. In the wilderness, Kakuzu, who was on his way, suddenly shuddered. Strange, the weather is not cold. Kakuzu gripped the windbreaker on his body, thinking. Behind him, a head was snoring with its eyes closed and sleeping very sweetly. When Kakuzu heard Haiden's snoring, he shook the frame behind him a few times angrily. In the end, this guy didn't wake up at all. He was sleeping like a pig. What the hell? Did I, Kakuzu, owe you something in my previous life? Kakuzu muttered cursingly. But he still carried Haiden's head and continued walking. Next day it was just dawn. In the room, Ryosuke, who had only slept for 2 or 3 hours in bed, woke up. He couldn't sleep. He was too excited and had no sleepiness at all. The effect of this inexhaustible aura is too strong. But it's really annoying. I won't be able to enjoy the fun of sleeping in the future. Ryosuke muttered. But if he wanted to, he could unequip this talent entry. He got up, brushed his teeth and washed his face. After this set of operation was completed, Ryosuke disappeared instantly. Training ground number 4. Ryosuke used his hands to make a seal. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang bang bang. 500 or 600 shadow clones appeared around him. Go, continue to practice. Ryosuke commanded these shadow clones.